I'd like to begin by saying I don't criticize or condemn a single person who believes it's in his or her best interest to refrain from attending church during this pandemic. There are a lot of legitimate reasons for people to stay away from a gathering. Most people have the mental acuity to determine for themselves whether the benefits outweigh the risk, and vice versa, of going to church. Because I don't walk in everyone else's shoes, I don't determine what they should and should not do. And neither do I criticize it. But apparently that seems to be a one-way street. There are those that imply it is cruel and unloving to open the doors in the church during a pandemic. The message to the churches who have complied with the cease and desist orders is your commitment to love has not gone unnoticed. Obviously, those churches who have remained open aren't committed to love then, right? So let me get this straight. If you lock the doors of your church on Sunday, you are loving. If you open them to have a corporate in-person worship, you are doing harm. I used to think Isaiah's warning, Isaiah 5:20, about those who call evil good and good evil was strictly about fallen secular culture, and now they're even doing it in the church. So let's look at this for a moment. The idea that you are showing love by not gathering physically together is based upon the assumption that you're doing your neighbor a favor by minimizing the risk of spreading the virus. It should be clear to everyone by now that the vast majority of deaths occur in two groups: the elderly and those who have pre-existing health issues. But instead of trusting people to do what's best for themselves, stay home if you are in one of those two groups, it has been determined that everyone should stay home because we don't have enough sense not to go or visit our elderly parents, grandparents after church. Fear, that's what it's all about. They're afraid of what could possibly happen because of gathering in church, and they have attempted to disguise their fear by calling it love. They are loving their churchgoers by keeping them separated. I'll say that again. They are loving their churchgoers by keeping them separated. That is patently ludicrous. And because any student of the Bible knows what it says about fear and what loving your neighbor actually looks like, their guilty conscience lashes out at those who aren't doing what they are by trying to shame us for being callous and harmful. It's a nice try, but I'm not buying it. The statistical likelihood of a healthy, non-elderly person getting the coronavirus at church and dying from it is probably pretty close to being shot to death in the pew while worshiping. Folks, it happens, and it happens way too often, but we don't lock the church doors and stream the sermon until we are absolutely certain that there aren't any more disturbed people looking to make a name for themselves by killing churchgoers. In China, imprisonment and even death are on the table for anyone caught worshiping in a non-government sanctioned church. I guess those Christians aren't loving when they risk it all just to worship together. And that brings me to what loving your neighbor really looks like. Look for a moment at what is going on in America and our culture right now. We've already covered the pandemic, but that isn't all that's going on right now to be afraid of, is it? Riots have been going on across the country for weeks and months now. There's a move to get rid of law enforcement nationwide. Antifa and Black Lives Matter, the organization, are roaming American streets brazenly, committing crimes with impunity and even being lauded for it by Democrats. The cancel culture is attacking everything and everyone. Socialism is actually being sought after by people already in government positions and political power. What happens in just a couple of months at the ballot box could forever unhitch America from the religion, ethics, and government of the founders. Look, there's a lot more to be concerned about than just catching a virus, and religious leaders are calling abandoning their flocks during this unprecedented time of upheaval loving? Find the verse in the Bible for me that indicates God's will, or even just a good idea to congratulate yourself for leaving the sheep out in the open exposed to the wolves. Matthew 9:36 through 37. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest." Again, Matthew 9:36 through 37. Today, God's sheep are being harassed by an increasingly hostile culture and government where it concerns liberty and faith, and are feeling helpless against the onslaught of a media obsession that the world is ending due to the coronavirus. Jesus had to pray that more would be sent out to minister to them. The sheep need the presence of their shepherds when danger is on every side. A Facebook Live isn't what Jesus had in mind when he spoke of sending out laborers. The bottom line is that you cannot gaze at the symbol of our Christian faith, the cross, and imagine that you can walk in the spirit of his life without risk. There's nothing wrong with doing what you can to minimize risk, using a seatbelt on the way to and from church, having a trained security team on the premises during worship, and wearing a mask and practicing social distancing in the church during a pandemic. But the violence isn't subsiding. The attacks on religious liberty aren't lessening, and the virus hasn't gone away. So stay home if you think it's in your best interest. You won't hear a protest from me. But stop. Just stop trying to shame me for using the brain God gave me following the call to be sent out as a laborer into his harvest. The sheep are being worn out in the day-to-day living of a world gone mad, so pastors, preachers, please open your churches and stop counting on Facebook to guide your sheep. And thank you again for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. If you wish to donate, donation links can be found in the description below. And until next time, God bless you and your families.
I'll find myself wanting to please the crowd. I'll find myself wanting to please the crowd. I'll need you to remind me that I should obey God. That I should obey God. I'll act like I don't have any problems.
I'll need you to show me how to share my struggles with others.
I want to have a lot of money so I can buy what I want. I'll need you to teach me that my things belong to God.
That my things belong to God.
I'll struggle with my
looks and appearance. I'll need you to remind me that God wonderfully made me. I'll tend to think about myself before others. I'll need you to teach me that the last will become first. The last will become first.
The last will become first.
I'll think I'm a lot smarter than I actually am.
I'll think I'm a lot smarter than I actually am.
I'll need you to show me how to learn from God's wisdom.
I'll want to avoid hard conversations.
I'll want to avoid hard conversations.
I'll need you to show me how to speak the truth
in love. I'll look for happiness in many different places. I'll need you to show me that joy is
found in following Christ.
I'll find myself stuck in bad habits.
I'll need you to show me the way out. I'll need you to show me the way out.
I'll need you.
I'll need you. I'll need you. I'll need you to point me toward Christ when no one else will.
To point me toward Christ when no one else will.